The United States was testing a new weapon off the coast of Australia when a catastrophic accident occurred. The resulting mushroom cloud rivaled a nuclear detonation. The nearest city was destroyed in an instant. Local authorities mobilized search and rescue teams immediately, only to find the situation far worse than anyone had anticipated. The weapon that detonated was not conventional. It was a wide-area pulse weapon, and the electromagnetic pulse it generated blanketed the entire island. This pulse was capable of instantaneously destroying the neural function of any living organism within range, producing fatal neurological collapse. The scale of the disaster made a coordinated official response impossible. The government was forced to call for civilian volunteers. Planes began landing on the island in succession. The moment volunteers disembarked, all phones and communication devices were confiscated. The military clearly had no interest in allowing photographs or accounts of conditions on the ground to reach social media. Most volunteers had come because they had family or friends on the island when the disaster struck. This was not the kind of event that drew strangers unless money was the motivator. Ava's husband, Mitch, had been on the island on a business trip when disaster hit. He hadn't been heard from since. She signed up to find him. What she hadn't considered was that his hotel was located in a city directly adjacent to the blast zone, a place still burning when she arrived. For safety reasons, the official response had to begin from the outer districts and work inward. Ava was assigned to a body recovery unit. Before the teams deployed, a military officer gave a briefing. They had encountered reanimated corpses during the relief operations. These were not resurrections in any meaningful sense. The electromagnetic pulse appeared to have triggered some form of mutation in the brain tissue, producing creatures that resembled zombies in popular fiction. They moved slowly and showed no aggressive behavior. If spotted, volunteers were to fire a signal flare and leave them to the soldiers. Under no circumstances were volunteers to engage. Buses took the teams to their assigned districts. Working in pairs, they entered houses and began the work. Ava stood in the first home and couldn't move for a moment. 3 members of a family lay on the floor, a couple and their child. The tap was still running. Nothing in the room had been disturbed. They had simply fallen where they stood. Outside, bodies were being lined up along the road in neat rows, loaded onto trucks by the truckload. Ava's first partner walked off the job immediately. The second, a man named Wallace, worked like a machine, no visible reaction to anything he encountered. He had come for the money and nothing else. The two of them quickly ran into a practical problem. A man who must have weighed well over 200 kilograms. They had to call for help. They had half convinced themselves the zombies were a fabricated detail when a signal flare went up nearby. The soldiers' response was swift and without ceremony. Not long afterward, Ava and Wallace found themselves standing motionless in a doorway, utterly still, its appearance deeply disturbing. Ava had braced herself for it. She was still shaken. Wallace fired the flare. The soldiers came and it was over. The recovered bodies were taken to a central location and buried together. But Ava couldn't stop thinking about Mitch. That night, while the other volunteers gathered, she marked the hotel on her map and slipped away with her essentials. A soldier spotted her before she reached the street. She went back and tried a different approach, finding Wallace at the gathering and asking him directly to help her get past the perimeter. Whether it was sympathy or something else, he agreed immediately. The next day, the two of them found a working motorcycle in a warehouse while clearing houses. They walked it out through the back door, avoided the soldiers' line of sight, and once clear of the area, Wallace opened the throttle. They hadn't gone far when a military convoy appeared ahead, another unit sweeping the area for zombies. The two of them ducked behind vehicles. At that moment a zombie appeared directly behind Ava. The convoy shot it before either of them could react. As the convoy moved on, they pushed deeper into the affected zone. Smoke thickened the air around them and visibility dropped. They found 2 gas masks in an ambulance and pressed on. The zombies here were more active, noticeably more agitated than the ones they'd encountered closer to the perimeter. The hypothesis was forming: the closer to the blast center, the more violent the reanimation. From a ridge, they looked out over the city center. Fires still raged, consuming everything. They didn't linger. The fuel ran out. They stopped at a gas station to rest. While Ava tried to ease the tension in Wallace's shoulders, something moved behind them. A zombie, and this one was fast. It lunged before they registered it. A soldier appeared from nowhere and shot it down. His name was Kress, and he was responsible for this sector. When he established that the two of them had come through without authorization, he locked Ava in a room and said the situation would need to be reported before he could decide anything. He took Wallace elsewhere. Ava sat and felt the weight of having involved him in her problem. Kress came back sooner than expected. He told her Wallace had slipped away and his people were already looking for him, and that when he was found, the consequences would be serious. Ava wasn't sure whether to believe him. Then Kress shifted tone. He said he understood why she had come, what she was trying to do. He offered to escort her to Mitch's hotel himself, provided she didn't disappear like Wallace had. She had no real options. She got in his vehicle. They drove until dark without arriving. The car turned down a side road and stopped in front of a house. Ava assumed he was picking something up. He invited her inside for dinner first. In the kitchen she noticed a framed photograph, Kress and a woman. He saw her looking and didn't try to deflect. This was his home. The woman was his wife. She had been pregnant, close to term, and she had died in the disaster. Ava could understand grief, but the strangeness of his behavior kept surfacing. She asked carefully what he needed from her. The scene shifted. Ava was in the bedroom. Kress wanted her to put on his wife's clothes and dance with him. She agreed, still calculating whether compliance might actually get her to Mitch. She left her own wedding ring on. When Kress came in, she put on headphones with music playing and they moved together. She resisted at first, then closed her eyes. eyes, and the melody pulled up memories of dancing with Mitch. Each of them was somewhere else entirely for a moment. Then Cress noticed the ring. The atmosphere curdled. He held it toward her and told her, with something more than a request in his voice, to put it on or she could forget about finding her husband. Ava didn't comply this time. She broke for the next room and bolted the door. She turned around and found a body on the bed. A woman, heavily pregnant. This was Cress's wife. From the other side of the door, as he worked at it, he explained, some people reanimated because something in their lives was left unfinished. His wife, on the verge of giving birth, was one of them. He was waiting for her to come back. The grief had clearly done something to him. Ava climbed out through the window. The car keys were downstairs on a table. She forced herself to go back for them. She pushed the door open. Cress was coming down the stairs at the same moment. She ran to the storage shed. He followed with a flashlight. In the corner of the shed, as the beam swept past, she saw zombies, several of them hands chained to the walls. Cress had been studying them. The chalkboard on the wall was covered in notes and observations. That explained how he knew so much about them. Ava saw her position about to be revealed and made a decision. She took off her ring, stepped into the light, and offered to start over, to wear the ring and dance again, and this time mean it, hoping to get close enough to lift his keys. Cress saw through it immediately. She had a screwdriver. She used it. She grabbed his keys and ran for the car. She was barely in the driver's seat when a figure appeared in the headlights, Cress's wife, upright and moving. He had been right. She had come back. She moved slowly and without any aggression, just standing there, blinking in the light. The sight of her made Ava think of Mitch. What if he was somewhere out there, just like this? She drove. Miles later, a car accident blocked the road. She continued on foot with an axe. She walked until almost sunset, exhausted, her awareness fading, when a violent zombie erupted from behind her without warning and she barely had time to register it before it threw itself at her. She dove into an overturned bus. It followed. She found a fire extinguisher. She made it out. She pushed on until she found a camper van before dark. She moved the body inside, checked the map, 6 kilometers to go, and slept. In the night, a body just outside the van reanimated. She woke to the sound, grabbed the axe, and went to investigate rather than staying put. She found the zombie digging methodically with a shovel. It registered her presence and turned back to its work. She looked at the ground beside it, several bodies, laid out. It was burying its family. She set down the axe. She helped push the bodies into the grave. When it was done, the zombie knelt in the earth and looked at her, a look she understood without any words. She picked up the shovel and let it go to be with them. She walked through the night. At sunrise she reached the hotel. Bodies in the lobby. She went room by room. In the second room she tried, a man was slumped against the headboard. It was Mitch. His body had begun to decompose. He had not reanimated. She had expected to find him dead. She hadn't expected what she saw next. 2 wine glasses on the nightstand, one with a lipstick mark, a woman's work lanyard on the desk, a female body in the bathroom, Mitch's wedding ring sitting on the edge of the sink, removed. She had crossed a disaster zone to find him. She had risked her life repeatedly, and this was what she found. She sat with it for a long time. She tried calling his name, knowing it was impossible, not quite able to stop. Then a familiar voice came from outside the door. Wallace. He had found her. Cress hadn't been lying about him running, but Wallace had come back anyway. The two of them went to the water. Ava told him everything, not just what she'd found in the room, but what had been there before any of it. She and Mitch had been unraveling for years. She couldn't have children and it had put a fracture through their marriage that they had never successfully closed. They had fought, badly, more than once. She had done something to hurt him in retaliation, and then regretted it and told him the truth before this trip, hoping to start over. And then the island had gone silent, and she had come here. There was no longer any way to repair anything, but saying it out loud helped. She left her wedding ring in the room. She and Wallace brought Mitch's body to the water, placed him on a small boat, and set it alight. On the road back, a zombie stood in their path. It was Cress's wife. Her dress was bloodstained and her abdomen was no longer distended. She had given birth. Somewhere nearby, faint but unmistakable, a baby was crying. The zombie turned and walked away, as though whatever had kept her here was now resolved. Ava and Wallace followed the sound through a stand of trees to a ruined building. Inside was a newborn, recently arrived. The child looked entirely healthy. Whatever had changed in the mother had not passed to the child. The film ends there.